hopefully gonna be able to set it up here so you all can hear him better.
Oops. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Trails appreciate it.
Ready when you are.
Call this meeting to order on the date of December 28th, 2022, 5:30 PM. Roll call members, please.
General,
Here.
leaders.
Here.
Kai.
Here.
Herder.
Here.
Show Anderson is absent.
You've all had a chance to read the minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes or make corrections?
Move to approve.
A second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same. Motion carried. Next I will read our the proceedings reading. Public hearing will be conducted pursuant to the board's rules of procedure as adopted May 26, 1988. We will first hear the planning report of the director on the detailed information and observations regarding the requests, if not done so in written form prior to the hearing. Next, we will hear the testimony of the applicant and his or her witnesses. Upon completion of the applicant's testimony, I'll call upon members of the audience wishing to make a statement concerning the request. Persons in favor of the request shall be heard first, followed by those who oppose it. At any time during the presentation of testimony, the members of the board may interrupt to ask questions or make comments on what has been said. Upon completion of all testimony, the applicant will be allowed to make a closing statement to the board. Upon completion of the applicant's closing statement, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing on the request. After the public hearing has been closed, we will then hear the recommendation, if any, of the planning director, and upon completion of all discussion, I'll entertain a motion of the members of the board regarding the disposition of the application. Each speaker addressing this board shall step forward to the podium and state their name and address before proceeding with their testimony or evidence. I would ask that you spell your last name. This board shall not be bound by strict rules of evidence, but does reserve the right to exclude evidence or testimony that it may deem to be irrelevant, immaterial, incompetent, or unduly repetitious. As chairman, I will rule on all questions relating to the admissibility of evidence, which may be overruled by the majority of the board. The board may grant continuance in the case for good cause shown to any interested party who has entered his appearance. The board may at any time request a continuance of a hearing for the purpose of giving further notice, taking further evidence, gathering further information, touring the proposed site, or for other such reasons the board may find sufficient. In such case, we shall state the specific reasons for the continuance and set a date, time, and place when the matter will be continued. All official actions of this board will be made at public hearing by motion made, seconded, and employment of the membership. If conditions are imposed, such conditions shall be included in the motion or amended hereto. Our final decision will be prepared in writing and will be part of the public record of this board. Once this board has reached a decision on the case, that decision shall be final. Section 335.18 of the Iowa Code states, any person or persons, jointly or severally, aggravated by any decision of the Board of Adjustment under the provisions of Chapter 335, or any taxpayer, or any officer, department, board, or bureau of the county, may present to the court of record a petition duly verified, setting forth that such decision was illegal in whole or in part, specifying the grounds of the legality. Such petition shall be presented to the court within 30 days after the filing of the decision in the office of the board. At this time, I would ask for a motion to open the public hearing, case ZV-2022-02.
I'll move to open public hearing.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same. Motion carries. Public hearing is open. I would ask that the applicant come forward and
Is it turned on so they can?
Yes.
Okay.
Dwayne, can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can, thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So now is your opportunity now to kind of explain why you're here, asking for the variance.
Definitely, thank you for the opportunity here, and thank the board for listening. Tonight, I'm asking the board for 200-foot variance on our HQ building to be approved. we basically need an additional 200 feet, square footage, because of the 600 square foot, limitation on an ADU building.
Okay, do you mind telling us a little more about what you're gonna use the building for, or what it looks like going forward for that space?
Sure, the primary purpose of the building is, it's for, we have a horse barn, and on top of the whole horse barn, we have, a storage and conditioned area that, we would like to use. So, yeah, so basically, our daughter, she's into equestrian horses. She needs an area so that she can, take care of the horses, wash the horse clothes, have a bathroom available, a conditioned, heated area to do that type of work. In addition to that, with COVID here the last couple of years, my employment is now asking me to work 100% remote, so I'm also going to be using portion of that area upstairs as our home office.
Does anybody else have any questions for Dwayne?
I'm sorry?
Oh, I was just asking the board if anybody else had any questions for you.
I can't think of any right at the moment.
All right, Dwayne, I think that's it for right now. We have one person in the boardroom, so we'll ask them if they're going to speak in favor or opposed to this, and then we'll go from there.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay. This time, anybody who would like to speak in favor, please come forward.
I just have one question. I'm Brandon Atkins on 18606. Where would the location of this be?
I can show you.
Can you show me? I'm just curious, a variance to my property and all that is all.
So that's their main house,
Okay,
this building here.
okay,
So kind of a wider view, you can kind of see that little red dot.
Yep.
That's the building in question right now.
okay. I was just curious.
Which property is yours, Brandon? Is that north or south?
It'd be just south, west of it. So it'd be this rectangle right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I know that I can, if I walk out of my back door, I can see down in my corner part there. And it's wide open, like there's not hardly any trees or anything here now. So I was curious if it was gonna be right against my property fence or not. And so,
Nope, that's the location of it right there.
okay.
And it's already constructed, so
Oh, it's already constructed?
the building is.
Oh, okay.
This is just for the interior.
Okay.
Piece.
Well, I'm not used,
No problem.
Here, it kind
Yep.
of confuses me and
Yep.
no one else in my family could really think it out, so I'd come in and find out for sure.
Oh, glad you did.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming in.
Yep.
Do you have anything else, or is that it?
No, that was it.
Okay.
That was
all
it.
right. Sounds
So-
good. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Y'all have a good evening.
You too.
So this is already constructed, correct?
Correct, this is a building that they moved, the building was, so it was a building that they moved onto the property. They built a foundation for it, so the horse barn, the horse piece of it that Dwayne's talking about,
Okay,
the entire underneath of this is horse stalls in
okay,
the basement. And I had some photos, I should have printed them off to bring them in, but it's, just horse stalls in the basement, and then, so the upstairs of it is the only conditioned space that met like living, the criteria for a dwelling.
okay,
So with the building code, it's kind of like, once you cross that threshold of conditioned space with a full restroom, it's habitable.
okay.
And that was what we went to when we stopped them and said, we gotta talk about this.
Okay.
Guess if there's no other questions, we can, let's see where we're at here. Make a motion to close public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
I'll second.
So moved in second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed the same. The public hearing is now closed. We ask for the staff's recommendations.
So based on the information and the code, going back through the research of what we did, the preliminary recommendation of the planning department is to approve the application subject to the following conditions. Number one is that they obtain the necessary permits for the interior finishes of the structure. Number two is to obtain a septic permit for the structure. And number three is the area shown on the plans as storage shall be maintained as such. This is based on the following findings of fact. Number one is the property on which the structure sits is 26.01 acres, which allows the structure to sit well above the established setbacks. And number two is the main house on the property is 2556 square foot footprint. And I would like to update this a little bit because I went back through and the measurements of it. It's a bigger variance request than what's actually needed. And so it would be at 750 square feet, the accessory dwelling unit is less than 50% of the primary dwelling.
Okay.
When you look at the floor plan of that they brought in on there,
There's like a 14 by 7 by 11, 8, that's storage, that's what you're talking about there?
so this
Yep.
area here, that is actually a garage door that comes into this. It's one of those, it's a roll-up door.
Okay,
And so when you take out the square footage of this room and on the exterior, the footprint of it, I'm sure they got the exterior wall.
Right.
So you take this area that they provide the measurements for, you take that out and you take out the stairwell on there, then that's where I'm coming down to around the 750 mark versus the 800 that was requested on there. Cause on the ADU code, it allows you to take out, your porches, your decks, your garage areas, all of those things can come out of there. Really, the conditioned envelope of this building would follow around the lines on this exterior. So if you were to follow those lines up, that is the conditioned envelope of what we're talking about.
So with that storage already taken out, you're at 750-ish?
Yeah. I don't know the exact measurements of
Yeah.
the stairs, so I estimated on what the stairwell would be to take that out, and it puts it around 750.
Where does the 600 square foot number come from for limit on an accessory dwelling unit? Is there
In 2015, when we did our land use plan update and the zoning code changes that we did, one of the major requested things prior to that had been accessory dwellings. Everybody, we probably had 25 different people come in wanting to do an accessory dwelling unit on their property at the time. So we did a lot of research across the country, pulling as many secondary granny flats, teen quarters, all of those different code sections together. And that was where we came up with the numbers to put in there. Now, we saw jurisdictions that had code that, the accessory dwelling units were all the way up to 2,000 square feet and as small as 400 square feet in some other areas. And that was really where we settled on, well, we want them to be accessory. So we looked at their minimum lot size of what you could put these on, which would be a 4-acre lot. And we're like, we want to make sure that it looks accessory to the main dwelling on there. And at the time, we just kind of settled on 600 feet was going to be the deal. And I believe that us settling on that really kind of hampered what people were actually intending what to come in to do, because all of those people that had come in curious about it, you know, we've probably permitted 5 of these because the footprint of it is so small. And I do think we probably should go back and look at that code section, and we can leave the minimum or out there at 600 square feet and do 50% of what your main house on the property would be. And I think that that's would be a better wording for the residents on there. Because when you look at a place like what the Deckers have, and you have that 26 acres, and this thing's set so far back off of the road, and it's hard to say that, you know, you're limited to this 600 square foot footprint when that one will blend right in with what it is. And the intent of it too was, well, you could go 600 down, you could go 600 main floor, 600 basement, and the second story is 600. So you could have 1,800 square foot total in there and, you know, have a garage as big as you want, have a deck as big as you want.
Okay. The main reason I ask is just to make sure that I understand the intent of the 600 square feet, because if we look at a variance, then we kind of set a precedence that if somebody comes in the future, they say, hey, well, you did it before. So I just want to make sure I understand the intent of that before I would decide either way, and don't kind of hamstring us a little bit to decisions in the future that might not have as ideal of a lot set up as this one does for something like that. You know, but it sounds like it's a pretty good thought process there.
And that's, I tried to, when we originally talked to the Deckers, that's really what, I went back to Pam and we tried to, mentally I tried to break it down of how does this work, so not everybody can just come in and doesn't just throw out the code section that we have as written. And I do really think that we have the lot size to lean up against with it being 26 acres. We have the main house footprint to lean up against, 2550 for a main house footprint on there. So we would have those two pieces to lean against on there if somebody were to come in right away and try to get one. But I do think that we have to pull that code section back up and reword that lesser of, so maximum of 600, lesser of the footprint, and just say, you know, it can be up to 50% of the main house.
So what's it take to change the code section?
Probably 180 days.
Say that's, I mean, that's a process to go through, does it go through planning and zoning and then?
Goes through planning and zoning and then to the board of supervisors.
Board of supervisors.
For
and of
2
course they're gonna
meetings.
throw out
Yeah.
lots of notices and.
It'll go through 2 meetings it would go through 2 meetings with the board of supervisors and then a publication.
Cause I agree that the code probably should be changed. I guess I'm a little nervous about doing this and then having people come in, you know, when the code still states 600. So, and so accessory dwelling unit, is there a limit to, so is there just one accessory dwelling unit allowed per, or can, good question.
One per property.
One per property, okay. I was trying to read through here, I didn't see that anywhere, but, okay.
I guess if there's no other discussion, if someone wants to entertain a motion on the request.
What's everybody thinking? I'm not sure, to be honest.
So the frame of reference that I try to keep is it hurting anyone? That's my first frame of reference.
Right.
So
Well, and then you
either
gotta-
through monetary, like, is it hurting the neighbor's property value? Probably not. Is it hurting somebody's property value if they buy that property in the future? Probably not. I mean, I don't think it would influence my thought process on buying it. So I mean, it's got those things in its benefit. The main downside that I am battling with, probably the same as everybody else, is that there's a code written for a reason, and yeah, maybe it needs looked at, but, you know, and then I guess the other thing that I'm looking at too is that if we have more square footage there, that's more revenue. So, I mean, that's,
Right.
it's, I think there's pros and cons to both sides of it, so.
And it is very close to the approved, you know, with the things, you know, 600 and so basically 150-foot variance. I mean, it is pretty close, I guess, to the original one too, square foot wise.
I'd be more inclined to, you know, I'm just afraid of setting precedents with this, you know, and it's almost like we're changing code. I mean, it's not like the, you know, we're quite a bit beyond the 600 in my opinion. I mean, you're 750 or 800, that's not just, you know, a small, I don't know what the percentage, I'm not good at percentages in my head, but I don't know what percentage that is. You know, I'd almost like to see us just maybe work on getting the code changed. 'Cause I'm with you, I don't see that it's harming anything, but at the same time, it is the code. And
What we do have, what the board, or you all would have to lean back on, and what we would lean back on the department wise, I guess it was, to me, would be those two extenuating factors. I mean, you do have 26 acres. You do have a main house with a 2,500 square foot footprint.
right.
And
What else could this space be classified as, with him kind of using it as an office? Is there anything, any other box it fits into?
yeah, not that we couldn't really.
Okay.
This probably really isn't all that uncommon for, I mean, there's probably properties out in the county
This is,
that,
this is
I
just the
mean,
one that's in front of us.
I know,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm saying,
Yeah.
Well,
I think there's, you know, probably 100 people out there that have done this.
Yeah.
Well, I told,
You know,
and I
I mean,
told
I'm just
Mike
saying,
that
but-
when we first came in, you know, we really struggled with it because
Right.
the zoning board of adjustment would in the past just grant a conditional use permit for a secondary dwelling on the property. And those secondary dwellings on the property at that time were, you know, they were 1,500, 2,000 square foot
Right.
houses that would be sat there. And while it was conditional use and it was supposed to be, you know, after the person passed away or, you know, the health issues had gone away, well, then the home was supposed to go away.
Right.
But nobody went back
Yeah.
and said, so then those properties would sell
Yeah.
and then they still have two homes on
Right.
them. And so I'm like, we really did struggle with it because I'm like, it is so close and I hated to have to tell the Deckers that, well, you're gonna have to move your wall 5 feet
Right.
and construct it there to try to meet that size requirement of it. And then, you know, 180 days passed, the code's changed, and they're like, well, that wall really should have been there. Now you got your electrical and everything run up into it, and
I don't know. I'd like to see us change the code. Being in real estate, I mean, I think it's, whatever. I mean, I don't see any issue with somebody having half their square footage of their main facility, property, being an accessory dwelling unit. I don't see a problem with that. I guess, I don't know.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve, and then you guys can vote whatever way you want. No, force you to do something.
Oh, goodness.
Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second.
Motion's been approved. Roll call vote.
General,
Yes.
leaders,
No.
Kai,
Yes.
Herder.
Yes.
Okay. The request has been approved. I guess is there, that'll be the end of the public hearing. Is there any other business?
I'll sign it.
Okay.
Yep, of course.
Dwayne, did you hear that?
Sounds like it got approved, and if that's the case, I really appreciate everyone's help on this.
It was approved, and we'll reach out to you with everything else at a later date, okay?
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time, board.
Okay, you're welcome.
Happy New Year.
Thanks, Happy New Year, bye.
Bye-bye.
Sorry about that, it's always just weird with somebody.
Is there any other business?
No other business for the board.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.